Bronco sales have been all over the place on the online auction sites, from crazy high to somewhat modest pricing. Let's get to the bottom of it and find out if there's any deals out there to be had. We're also going to take a look at the new car sales and see if dealers are still ripping people off with markups. We are going to continue our deep dive series into the car market, and today we're going to focus on the Bronco. We are going to break up the Bronco market into two different portions. Essentially, we're going to have the regular Bronco, if you will, which will include all variations there, and then we're going to have the Bronco Raptor. They have a little bit of crossover from an MSRP perspective and from a resale, but it's really two different markets. Let's do an overview of the Bronco before we get into the sales or the lack of sales. The new 6th generation Bronco was released for model year 2021. It was highly anticipated, and it was at the center of the hysteria of the car market that we now know of it in 2021. The introduction of the 6th generation Bronco was at the end of a 25-year gap from when they made the 5th generation Bronco, which was very infamous. Because of all of these conditions, whether it be supply chain or hysteria, the norm at this point in time was dealer markups, or adjusted dealer markups, ADM. And that was the norm for the greedy dealers, if you will. We'll cover more of that when we talk about the new car sales. With the release of the Bronco, they essentially listened to all the engineers' ideas as well as the Jeep ideas and wants that were coming from that community, and they decided to out-Jeep Jeep, if you will. And in most regards, many people would say that they did that. They came up with a great vehicle which satisfied pretty much that entire community, with a couple little exceptions. There was some of the crawler folks as well as some of the trail folks, and the complaint from them was that the Bronco was too wide for some of those trails. I don't think that that was a big thing. It just proves that you can't be everything for everyone, right? Let's start off with the Bronco Raptor. In mid-2022, they started selling the Bronco Raptor, and it had an incredible demand. That demand extends even to today, as we'll see. The MSRP on it starts around $83,000, and it goes up from there. The Raptor comes with a 3-liter EcoBoost that makes about 418 horsepower, and it comes with a 10-speed auto. There was no other drivetrain options. It also got the full Raptor treatment, if you will, from the truck perspective. It got the Raptor treatment, but for the Bronco, so bigger tires, better suspension. It also got a ton of technology, and you pretty much get everything that you want and probably then some. Okay, let's get into the Bronco family now. This gets a little confusing, so I'm going to make it simpler, but I first want to show you the list of all the models that are out there, and then I'm going to make it simple. So in this list, you can see all the different models from base all the way up. So there's 8 of what we're going to call a regular Bronco, and 8 different models, and then there's the Raptor at the end, and you can kind of see the progression as they go through it. So now let's break that down to a little bit of a simpler explanation. All right, my simple explanation of how you go about choosing a Bronco is based on 3 different things, so we're going to make it pretty simple. The first is whether you want it 2-door or 4-door. So that would be your first choice. And then your second choice is going to be whether or not, and this gets a little confusing, but they have a soft top and they have a retractable top and they have a hard top, and sometimes you can get both versions, and I'm not making this stuff up. I swear this is true.
He was serious?
Yeah, he was serious.
So you have to decide which top configuration that you want. And then third is going to be essentially how much off-road ability that you want and how much technology do you want in your Bronco. Factor in those 3 things and you end up with an MSRP that's between $35,000 and $80,000. Also embedded in that are 3 different transmissions and 2 different engines. So the 2 different engines, one is a 4-cylinder turbocharged and the other is a 2.7 liter turbocharged. And then from a transmission perspective, it is a 7-speed manual up to a 10-speed auto. Now, let's take a step back to the 2.7 liter EcoBoost and talk about issues.
No problem here.
So while there are many little ones, there's been one big issue with the Bronco, and that's the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. It's been well documented, and there's all kinds of things out there on the internet about it, and so you can research that on your own. They had significant issues affecting over 25,000 different Broncos, and it was a valve train issue essentially, and it was causing everything from complete catastrophic failure to the engines to them having just some power reduction and that type of thing. I think that they were pretty much limited to a mid-year 2021 build date, and all of those dates and information are out there. So if you are shopping for a used Bronco, keep that in mind when you're looking on the used market. Most of those failed early on that failed, but there's probably still some that are out there in the market right now. Not a cheap situation to fix, and a complete pain for the customers, and I feel for them. Unfortunately, this wasn't a singular experience with this engine family. There was also another failure on a different model of this engine family, and so that's really unfortunate. I think it's worth mentioning that it's usually best to stay away from the first model year of a brand new vehicle, but I think that that's probably a little less important. It's definitely important to stay away from the first year of a new engine technology or a new engine capability. It's just a little bit too much risk to take, in my opinion. There's no point to take it. All right, now let's look at the sales that are happening on Cars and Bids as well as Bring a Trailer, and then we're going to talk about new car sales at the dealers. First, we're going to talk about the Bronco Raptor sales. I'm going to refer to the notes here, so excuse me. So on Bring a Trailer, we had 51 listings. 13 of the Bronco Raptors did not meet reserve. So that's about a 25% did not sell. And that's a well above their no sales on Bring a Trailer, by the way, which is normally at or below 20%. On Cars and Bids, they had 12 Bronco Raptors go for sale, and only 2 did not meet reserve. That was an amazing result. I was very surprised by it, so I actually dug into it a little bit deeper to look at it, and what I found was even more surprising. So not only did they sell better on Cars and Bids, they went for more money on average than the Bronco Raptors that were on Bring a Trailer. I don't know why, but it's a fact. Why are the Bronco Raptors not selling well on Bring a Trailer? I don't have an answer for that. It's either bad luck or that market is not interested in Bronco Raptors, but there's so much crossover between the two sites. I don't know, but I know one thing's for sure is Bronco Raptors are selling way better on Cars and Bids. So now we've covered the Bronco Raptor sales, which were really interesting, and now we're going to go into the regular family of Broncos. And so on Cars and Bids, there was 55 Broncos listed, and 16 of them did not make reserve, which was essentially a 30% no sales. And then on Bring a Trailer, there was 252 listed, and 52 did not meet the reserve, which is 20% no sales. So again, for regular Bronco, we had 30% no sales on Cars and Bids, and then 20% on Bring a Trailer. 20% is the norm. So I think that was really interesting. So for some reason, the Broncos are having a hard time selling on Cars and Bids, but the Bronco Raptors are selling like wildfire. For new car sales and availability, I spoke with about a half dozen different dealers, and they were pretty consistent across all the dealers. None of them are charging ADMs for an order, and that includes the Bronco Raptor. And then from an availability perspective, all of them said it was about 4 to 6 months from taking an order to when you would get delivery. There was one exception to that. There's a few option packages and specifics that are taking a little bit longer, and they said that might push it out to about 8 months. So somewhere between 4 and 8 months from order to delivery. That's not fantastic, but it's not horrible either, so that's a good thing. Now for the not so great news. Pretty much every one of the dealers I spoke with had a Bronco on site, and some of them had Bronco Raptors on site, and they were all charging ADMs for those that they had on site. I didn't really care for that, and I grumbled quite a bit when they would mention it, but nonetheless, that's the case. One last thing that I forgot to mention was the special pricing plans, or the A to Z pricing plans. If you worked for a company that was a partner with Ford, you get like an X plan, and then there's like A all the way up to Z plans. And so Each one of the dealers that I spoke with said that they were honoring those pricing plans, and you could come in and place an order and get that pricing. And that was no issue whatsoever, even on some of the long lead items that take you out to 8 months. So that's really good news. If you remember back to the old days, pre-C, if you will, that was sometimes the starting point for negotiation, and you would get pricing below those plans. So I don't know if we're there yet, but we're getting close, so that's good news. Okay, so now I've covered the sales and we've went into some of the numbers. What would I do if I was going to buy or sell a Bronco Raptor? If I was going to sell a Bronco Raptor, I would sell it on Cars and Bids. They're getting more money and they're selling them more frequently. If I wanted to buy one, I'd buy one on Bring a Trailer because it's a lower price, right? And so I'm going to show a graph of the sales of the Bronco Raptors, and you can see that they're going over MSRP. MSRP for these things, for the most part, are mid-80s. Sometimes they get a little bit higher, but the sales prices are higher than that. So if you want one really bad right now, and you want it now and not place an order at the dealer, then you're going to have to pay a little bit of a premium above MSRP. Personally, I would just go to the dealer and order a brand new one that comes exactly the way that I wanted it, spec'd out, and I just wait the 6 months. That's what I would do if I was going to buy a Bronco Raptor right now. If I were looking to buy a regular Bronco, if you will, all those 8 models, I think I'd probably shop on Bring a Trailer as well as Cars and Bids if I wanted to get a really low sub MSRP sales price or purchase price. And I would probably do that if I wanted a used one. If I wanted to just get a new one, I would go to the dealer and put an order in and get it exactly the way that I wanted it. You may even be able to negotiate sub MSRP right now. Since everybody is opening the discussion with MSRP being the price, then that leads me to believe that it's probably fairly easy to get sub MSRP. Maybe not a lot, but a little bit. Shop around and get the best deal though, and say no to ADM. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this content, and if you did, please hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. Every subscriber means a ton to me right now, so I really appreciate it. We'll see you out there in the next one.